KOMO News.
This week, the Senate passed a major bipartisan bill that addresses the opioid epidemic. Today, Senator Maria Cantwell spoke about how that bill will help us here in Washington state. In 2016, 700 people in our state died of an opioid overdose. Most of those were in King, Snohomish, and Pierce counties. Today, sheriffs from each of those counties backed this new bill, saying the problem is so big, law enforcement can't solve it alone.
This notion that we're going to arrest our way out of the problem, that a pair of handcuffs and a trip to jail will somehow solve this epidemic is nonsense.
There are 4 parts of the bill: prevention, expanded treatment coverage, funding for drug court, and holding drug manufacturers accountable. If drug manufacturers are held accountable, Cantwell says doctors will be held accountable too. On the Senate floor, she talked about the problem of doctors overprescribing opioids, using the example of an Everett doctor who wrote thousands of opioid prescriptions over 9 years. KOMO's Michelle Esteban went to find that doctor today. Michelle?
Well, hi there, Molly. You know, we did a lot of digging and we learned that he is retired, but he's got a paper trail with the state, and he was sanctioned, in fact, last year for not meeting the standard of care when it comes to prescribing opioids to some patients.
We got to stop it. More addiction, more opioids, and more deadly consequences. And Senator Maria Cantwell not only points a finger at drug manufacturers, but doctors, too.
In one example, a physician in Everett, Washington, wrote more than 10,000 prescriptions of opioids. This number of prescriptions is 26 times higher than the average prescriber in Everett, Washington.
We found that doctor. He's Dr. Donald Dillinger. We wanted to ask him about those 10,000 opioid scripts, but no answer at his home, and his Everett medical office closed, and his voicemail says he's retired. The AG's office knows about him, too. We discovered he was called out in this lawsuit filed by the Attorney General's office in January for writing those 10,000 opioid prescriptions from 2007 to 2016. Cantwell says spikes in drug distribution should be monitored and reported by drug manufacturers.
However, the drug manufacturer failed to report this suspicious activity.
The doctor didn't return our calls, but we learned he was disciplined by the state in 2017 for not meeting the standard of care for chronic pain patients. The state restricted his license and put him on a compliance plan. And we learned today the state's medical commission reopened that investigation after learning of the lawsuit. It's ongoing today.
That's disgusting to me, honestly.
Kelly, an assistant occupation therapist who's not connected to the case or the doctor, says she encounters countless patients addicted and desperate for pain meds.
You see it all the time. They shop doctors, and then if they can't get it from doctors, they get it from the streets.
Like the senator, she thinks the buck stops with manufacturers and over-prescribing doctors.
They don't need to prescribe so much meds.
Now, I should tell you that the doctor did fight those charges against the state, but as you know, he lost. And as I mentioned, they have reopened that investigation because of the AG's lawsuit. But it might be a moot point. The state's deputy director of the Medical Association, or commission, I should say, tells me that he surrendered his license right now. They are in the process of negotiating that surrender to make it official. That's the very latest. I'm Michelle Esteban, KOMO News.